Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tebiso, and I will be your host for today. And this webinar is proudly brought to you by the Engineering Institute of Technology. So to kick things off, let's just quickly go through the notification and sound slide that is up on your screen. Please note that you can turn your notifications off during this webinar so that you are able to concentrate and you do not have any notifications that come through whilst you are still attending. You're also able to put them back on once the webinar has concluded. A second thing that I would like to make you aware of is the question and answer function that is available on the Microsoft Teams platform. You are able to put your questions in the Q&A box. You'll be able to ask your questions from there. However, as the DEng program or DEng webinar rather runs slightly different, you can just note the questions that you have on there, and at the end of the session, I will be able to give you presenter rights so that you're able to ask your questions to Professor Kalam live and online. Furthermore, if you don't want to speak to him live, you can also put your questions on there and he will be happy to answer any questions you might have. Now, some common questions, frequently asked questions. You will receive both a copy of the slides as well as the video recording of this particular webinar. They'll be sent to you by the marketing team within the next 2 business days. Please keep a close eye on your emails, including your junk, spam, and promotional folders. They will be found there and they will most certainly be sent to the mailboxes that you guys used to register for this webinar. Okay, so a little bit more about EIT. So the Engineering Institute of Technology is an engineering specialist. We offer engineering programs, both online and on campus. If you're looking to study on campus, we have programs ranging from the bachelor's, the master's, as well as the Doctor of Engineering. We offer industry-oriented programs, and that simply means that the programs that we run are on par with what is going on in the industry. We are a world-class accredited Australian education provider, and some of our programs are actually internationally recognized under the Dublin Accord, Sydney Accord, as well as the Washington Accord. And of course, our industry experienced lecturers. These lecturers have been in the field before and are now imparting the knowledge and skills that they have gained during their working into the lectures that they provide to our students. So today's topic is navigating academic publishing, and it will be proudly presented to you by Professor Akhtar Kalam. He is one of our DEng supervisors. Now, before I tell you guys regarding Professor Kalam, or rather before he actually introduces himself, I want you guys to know that this webinar is made for candidates who are looking to join the DEng program or are within the DEng program and would like to know what to do within their programs, as well as what they would like to include when they are applying for the DEng course at EIT. So it's mainly for people who are looking to start their DEng programs or are already within the Doctor of Engineering programs. And as such, because this is an info session, we will not be providing a certificate of attendance. You will receive both a recording as well as the slides to this particular webinar. I believe that's it for me for this portion of the webinar. If you have any questions, as I've mentioned, you can leave them in the chat box as well as the Q&A function. Professor Kalam, I will leave you to introduce yourself. I will see you at the end of the presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, Tebiso. And can I take control?
You most certainly can.
Okay. Now, just a quick one. First of all, about myself. This is an interesting one. I've been associated with EIT for a long period of time. I did my PhD also long time back, and but I wish I had done a DEng program. I got my initial qualifications in India. I did my master's in the United States and PhD in England. And I've been working in Australia for about 42 years. So, and my interest is power systems and in electrical engineering in general. Now, coming back to my presentation, and I think I better go right to the presentation because I've got a bit more slides than what is normally there, and my slides are very interesting because I'll be giving you some statements which will be uh, pretty interesting and maybe interesting in writing, whether you write a paper or you do your PhD thesis or DEng thesis or whatever you do. It is important that you realize that there are certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. My first question, why do this? Are you crazy? Why do this? Why publish papers? And before that, I would say, why do a DEng program or why do a doctorate program? You have to be passionate to be doing these programs. You don't do because you will get extra money or extra thing of that sort, nothing of that sort. I don't believe that anyone gets any extra money just for doing a doctorate program. You want to do it because you're passionate for it. You want to share your knowledge. You want to show people that you've discovered something. You want to improve engineering and technology. That's why you want to do this program. This is the ideal situation. Practically, if you want to get funding, you have to publish. If you want to get promoted, if you are in a teaching job, you have to get published. If you want to get a job, especially in academia, you have to do publishing. If you want to keep your job also, you have to do publishing. So therefore, there is one thing is that especially you are in academia, you will find that publication, whether it is of any form, it's important that you get that going. Without that, it's very hard to keep your job and it's very hard to continue on with your job. And some nice sayings, scientists and engineers are rated by what they finish, not by what they attempt. We do a lot of things. As a matter of fact, even in engineering profession, you'll find that you give to your CEOs the number of proposals, most of them goes to the dustbin. And the one that is kept is one which is useful. And that's what the finishing product is the one which is there. And naturally, I don't want to talk about return on investment and all. A CEO will look at the return of investment before they approve anything. Now, when you talk about research publication, this is an interesting one. When we talk about research publications, I think you must realize that it is important that the research publication, much of it goes down the dustbin. Much of that, right? So this is the hardest bit. It's just like having a car like that and all sorts of comments come and your car becomes something like that. Sometimes when you get the reviewers comment, it seems absolutely disastrous. You know, it seems that you're goofed up in big way. And if you have to incorporate everything that they say, you might find that you might not be able to get anything going. So you might find a car which is simple as this, the four-wheeler, and you might find you've got an eight-wheeler car. So I've got some famous quotes, and I like these quotes, and I like to start with it. Um, in order to get experience, you need experience, my friend. You can't get experience without having experience. In the olden days, we used to have these formulas of publish or perish. If you don't publish, you will perish. Uh, it's very hard to write a short letter. Uh, it's very hard. It's very hard to concise. It's pretty easy to make a long one, but it's very hard to have a short one. And you'll find that the more you rewrite, the much better the research outcome comes. So what type of research publications you want to make? Sometimes you want to do case reports. I do it, a lot of them when I do on my consultancy work. I have a lot of work that I do. Um, I put in case reports. I got case series. I do a lot of review articles. If once you when you get into that profession and when you start publishing, people will ask you to review other people's work, just like others have reviewed your work. You will have to start reviewing other people's work, and this is very interesting. You learn new things. I do learn a lot of new things by correcting other people's theses. I get learn when I read papers, and that's the only way you can advance in your field. It's always good to go for original research. Original research is the groundbreaking one. Okay, sometimes what happens is that you might find that even letters to editors, which are very brief, that is very useful too. Editorials again is brief, but it's very focused. Or you can do some book reviews or software reviews, etc. So these are various types of. So it's only that not only the thesis that you may be interested in. It's not only thesis, but it could be any of these things. And I'll be talking about Q1 publication, Q2 publication in a minute, but I hope you understand that it's not only the publication of your thesis which is important, especially if you try to work in this area. The more publication you do, the better it becomes. Okay, now what I want to do is fundamentally look at what type of journals are there, or what type of research publication media are there. You will find something like journals. Mind you, these journals are very expensive to produce. So if it's not good, it will not be published. Nowadays, many e-journals are coming up, which is a nice way of curtailing the actual hard copies one. And that's becoming very popular. Websites are also there. You can put things on websites. So I want to emphasize on original research. And you have to be absolutely clear that you know what you are doing. That means it's not enough for you to know, you have to describe that in writing your work and findings. And that's hard. You may know you may know that your work is original. You may know that your findings are absolutely groundbreaking, but I have to put it in writing in black and white. If you find that you have developed something where there's further scientific knowledge required, or you found something where there's a gap in knowledge, or look at what the present knowledge is and you want to improvise on that and improve on that. Therefore, the literature search or literature surveys are very important. Then you want to contribute to enhance existing research. There are people doing research. And one more very important thing that I have not mentioned, and that is if you publish first, and if there are 5 people working in the same area, everyone knows that it's your work and you are the original pioneer. So you have established yourself. That's why I tell my students themselves, publish at least one paper in that area. So you have got the credibility that you are the first person, because there's no point in doing someone else's work. So the goals, first of all, as I said, I want to make sure that I am in existence. I am the one who found this. This justifies my existence. Sometimes I'm interested in funding, and if I don't publish, I may not get any funding. If I want to get promoted, especially in an academia, as I mentioned earlier, you have to show that you have done this much work. It's very hard to find a job in academia job if you do not have publications and research grant. Even as a lecturer, you will not get a job if you do not have publications and grants. Grants is very good if you can get it, but I'm going to concentrate only on the publication part in this presentation. So I'd rather stress on that you will not get promoted if you do not have any publication. You might be the best teacher in the world. You might be the best presenter in the world. You might have an eloquent style of teaching. You might have uh, you are complete a guru as far as students are concerned, but you will not get promoted if you do not have publication. It's good to have a CV, and the CV. You find that if you've got publication, your length of the CV becomes very big. I mean, mine is about 95 pages, and out of 95 pages, the important bit is only about 5 to 8 pages, and the rest of them is most of them are publications. Also, it impresses your friends. Oh, look, you've got someone, Tom, Dick, or Harry, whoever they are. It impresses. Look, Tom has done 20 publications. Tom has got, uh, you know, he's published in a Q1 journal. Tom has got an H index of this. All sorts of things comes in. So it really impresses your friends, and actually your enemies too. It impresses everyone if you've got publications. So this is the start of my introduction to my presentation. And my agenda today is I've got a few dot points. If you look, and I'll go through each of them. And I'll start with submitting a journal. And there is about, if you see, I've got 8 types of, 8 sections of presentation today. My subsections are about 8. And I'll start with submitting a journal. And I'll repeat these over and over again. So this is what it is. First, you need to select a journal. That is difficult. And my suggestion to my students are that always try to go for the highest. Don't try to aim for the bottom one. Try for the highest. And before I do anything, there's no point submitting the same paper to 20 journals. Submit one paper at a time. And it's important that you realize submit only to one journal your paper. No need of thinking that, if I put 4, one of them will accept. No, they will not accept. And if they find out that you've done multiple, you will come into blacklist also. You will not be able to get an opportunity to publish. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and some of the things that one can do is, first of all, you do the search. That means you find which journal you want to publish. And you can get these things in your library. You can find it Science Direct. You can find it in Web of Science, all these things. Then you try and find some full text. Again, you can find all that in the Library Hub and Google Scholar and in Web of Science. Exactly like this, you can find which displays all the results. Most of them, whether it is Library Hub, Google Scholar, Science Direct, or Web of Science, all practically does Boolean search, browse through journals, physical holdings, admin tools for library, and built-in notional usage metrics. But whatever you do, you find, if possible, if you are in a higher education setting, you'll find your librarian to be a great help. And I've always found the librarians to be of great help. Now, it's quite possible with all these digital libraries cropping up, your institution may not have a librarian. If they don't have, then tough luck. You can easily find from other sources. But if there is a librarian, try and take help from them. Uh, how many journals are there? I don't know how many journals are there. I think there are about 19,000 journals. Elsevier is there, Gestar is there, open access journals are there, Research for Life journals are there. There's so many journals. It's very hard. It's very hard to quantify them. Try and focus in the journal that you want to publish. Journal, there are a lot of journals. How many articles are there? About yearly, there are about 16.5 million articles are published. And depending on different types of journals, you can see that journals like Elsevier are producing around 9 million journal articles every year. They've got they've got tons of journals under their wing. So there is a lot of opportunities of publishing. Now, this has become a very popular thing, open access publishing. It's very interesting that this has happened, and I think this has become very predominant in the last 7 to 10 years. Open access publishing, where you have to pay what is called APC, article processing charge, and it's not cheap, my friends. I'll tell you one thing: it's not cheap. It's not cheap because this could be quite expensive. And so you look at it, whether it's in physics, sociology, law, psychology, education, health science, political science, biology, you name it, uh, open access publishing has become the fad these days. And there are journals, if you come from a underdeveloped country or developing country, you might find some journals giving you special privileges and discount for publishing with them. And that is for not for all the people, but for many. Also, there is a if your institution has got link with certain groups of journals, and many universities in the world have got this. They get special discount or practically free. They get this. They get this access. So, if you've got such type of MOUs with the journal, then you'll find that your publication charges could be reduced or dramatically reduced, or it could be zero. So it's not a bad idea to find out from your library whether there is such type of arrangement by which your publication charges can be discounted or can be published free. Or else you might find that you might be off a certain amount of money. To give you example, journals like which comes from Switzerland is MDPI, and it's called Energies. To publish over there is about 2,750 euros. And that equates to about 4,500 Australian dollars. It's a huge amount of money. Um, if there are your supervisors, etc., have got a grant, they might give it to you. But for a student or for those early career researchers to find that type of funding is difficult. So having some sort of arrangement by which the library pays for it, or the library has got arrangement with certain MOUs that they get a substantial discount or free, that definitely helps. Now, after that, we can talk about Thomson Reuters. They have their journals. They use the web of knowledge. Then there's something called JCR, which is journal citation. This tells you exactly how much citations are there. And that is a good one. That gives you exactly if there is more citation, that means the level of journal is much higher than that other things. You'll find that in engineering area, they are down. Normally, you'll find more citations, etc., in medicine, viruses, pharmacy, something like that. Engineering are a bit down. Now, my second point I wanted to mention was is how you start doing the research, and this is where it'll become useful for you because you have to think ahead. And before I say anything else, let me tell you your currency of the research must be valid for about 20, 25 years after you've completed your project. So much investment has gone towards your DEng, your PhD, and if there is no currency in it, then you find that there is no there's no interest in that work. So therefore, I say that you must have a good currency in your in the work that you do, and that's what is important, that you realize that. And so there must be currency of your work, and so you have to think a lot ahead. If supposing whilst you're doing work and your currency is lost, then you find that it becomes a very big problems. And so you want to see that that these articles that you are producing and the work that you have done has got currency even after you have completed your doctorate program. So you have to think ahead. I remember when I was doing my doctoral degree, and in my time I built up a power system protection device. And that device came into the market after 20 years after it completed my research. It was picked up by the industry and they built that device. So you understand that that currency was there even 25, 30 years after I had completed my PhD. So you must have. So you have to think right ahead of the currency of your work. If the as I told you, if it finishes before you complete your PhD, I don't think there is any value to it. So, so first of all, I have to find out where I can publish. I've got so many choices. There's world is a limit. There's no physical border that you can't publish here, you can't publish there. Naturally, in our field, in engineering areas, we find that the Americans and the Europeans are taking lead in there. So what you do is that when you're doing the literature search, you find out uh, where you can publish. And if there are work in similar area, you find that that type of journal might be an, an apted one for publishing there. And that is the first thing that you should be able to do it. Now, you've got datas. Okay, how many papers can you publish in this? Naturally, you can't keep on repeating because plagiarism check will check it and you'll not be able to publish. And right in the beginning, I want to tell you that plagiarism or what we call similarity index, all papers goes to similarity index. I mean, the journal that I lead, Australian Journal of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, which I am the chief editor, it goes to iThematic. And I know exactly in the beginning that how many what sort of similarity index is there, where you've got it from internet sources, you've got it from this, you got it from that, right? Sometimes it's your own source, there is no problem. But if your index is more than 20%, I do not accept those type of paper. As a matter of fact, it's more than 30%, I reject those papers. So remember that thing, similarity index. But now with AI generated work, it also comes up. Turnitin is a very good software that students use in many of their institutions. You find that they give you both the Turnitin similarity index as well as AI generated. You'll find that same work when it goes to Turnitin, the similarity index might be 20%, whereas AI generated might be 95%. It becomes a very arduous and difficult task for someone who is reviewing which one to accept. So the question is that how many papers I can publish. Uh, I have a very clear understanding, and I make it clear to all my students this thing that uh, it's hard to publish right in the beginning in a journal. It's much better to do one or two conference publication. Remember, all these publications is also doing reviewing of your work. Most of the people who are sitting in the conference who are looking at your work and they're commenting on it, you find that you're getting free advice from these people. So try and utilize one or two conferences. If you are confident that your conference has been successful, then you write a journal paper. But a conference paper cannot be the same as the journal paper. Again, Turnitin it will catch it. So be very careful. It should be different. Okay, the data must be different. The experimentation. I mean, the body of the work might be same, but there must be difference between the two: the journal publication and the conference publication. Very important to know who your co-authors are. There's a lot of various ways of doing it, but sometimes if you have people working in groups or network, or you have to include anyone who has participated in the research. It's a discipline, okay? If the whole team, there's no limitation that it should be one author or two author. Naturally, a single author paper, although it sounds very nice, is very good because there's only one author which has done it, right? But those type of papers are very rare. You will always find at least two or three authors in who are co-authors in a paper. And it's very simple. If a student writing it, I believe that the first author should always be the student, irrespective of whatever anyone says. The reason is very simple. Then the student can take ownership of that work. First author, the corresponding author should be that student. All correspondence should be done to the student. Second author could be supervisor, principal supervisor. Third could be co-supervisor. Fourth could be anyone who has participated in the research. If there is industry personnel, include the industry personnel too. It's always good to have industry people who participate in writing the papers. You find that not many industry personnel write publication. That's a bit of a dilemma I'm having because I prefer paper from the industry rather than from academia because I know that there is currency in this work. So, but you have to care. Just don't write names of co-author just to please someone. No, no, don't do that, please. If someone has not done anything, I think it's a cardinal sin to put that name. So make sure that someone who has worked or participated or helped in writing or whatever it is, if there is a contribution, you give acknowledgement. So that is from a co-author's point of view. Information, methods, field maps, sample areas, right, and background information. All that, everything has to be included. Then my third thing, let's understand this process, publication process. And it's very important that you understand that it's not so simple as you think. You don't just send it and then everything happens. No, it doesn't happen like that. Okay. And let me show you what is there in the manuscript. Look at that. Author has sent the paper, it has gone, right? The title was there, it was received, it was corrected, the manuscript was corrected, associate editors were requested to review that paper. First, the chief editor has gone through it, and then it goes to associate editor to review it, okay? And then you find many, I've sent to 5 of them, 4 of them will refuse to do it because they're very busy or they don't have time. We have to respect them because associate editors, etc. and other reviewers may not have time to go through everything, right? And you will find it difficult, but that whole process takes time. And then again, associate editors are there. I need to have at least 3 reviewers, out of which if 2 of them have said, yes, I accept that. And therefore you find that you will find one of my students was telling me recently that he has sent it to a journal and there were 2 reviewers who came with different views completely. So it was a dilemma. And I'll tell you how to answer these things. But I want you to understand that you might find people, the reviewers, when they come back with the report, you might find that sometimes you get very angry. You've done all the work and someone has been criticizing it. Believe me, It's a freebie that you have got. If the reviewers has given you comments, even if it's negative comment, you've got a free advice. So take it in a positive sense. So you have submitted. Uh, the submission has been accepted does not mean that the paper will be published, but you have accepted the submission. That means the chief editor or editor-in-chief or editor itself has accepted the submission, has gone through all the, for my one is I thematic, it has gone to the similarity check and everything. So everything, it looks proper. Then I send it to reviewers. And after it goes to reviewers, again, 1 or 2 times, it keeps on going up and down between you and the reviewers. Okay. And then it's accepted. Uh, the best one is that if whatever you've written is accepted in one go, it never happens, my friend. Everyone has got their own views, and you find that they will ask you for some revision. And the revision could be major revision or minor revision. You're lucky if you get minor revision, then it's simple thing. Major revision might be substantial amount of work, but majority of the papers will be rejected if it is not of the quality. I find that I don't believe that I have seen many papers which has been accepted in the first go. I've seen 1 or 2, but not many out of hundreds that I do yearly. So rejecting very high rate. Among the rejection, there are a lot of special things which are happening, and people are trying all sorts of tricks. And I'm having certain, and I don't want to name countries and do anything of that sort, but I find that I get response from the journal itself, and in my case, it's Taylor and Francis. I get response over there saying that these people are sending multiple copies of the same paper to the same journal. In my journal, they've sent it 4 different times at 4 different instances of time, the same paper. And so I get advice from the editorial team. This is the management team, the administration team of that journal, that these papers should be rejected. And I rejected automatically. Then there are some authors who are blacklisted. I hope you don't come into that sort of thing. You will not have papers published in that journal. So you find that after your paper has been accepted, after it's gone to minor, major, or is accepted for publication, then you have to make sure that you respond to every little detail that reviewers might have asked. Okay. And you resubmit your edited manuscript, and hopefully it will all be published. This whole process might take a very long period of time. In my journal, it takes about 1 year. Because everyone is a volunteer. I don't have any APC. I don't believe in article processing charge. I don't have APC. Everyone sends papers. Every day I receive about 50, 60 papers to be reviewed. So I find that very hard and time consuming, but I like it. At least that gives an impression to the bodies that we are doing something useful. So remember that even I have got limitations of pages that I can submit. So too long a paper, I do not like to accept, because if I can get 2 publications rather than 1 publication, I'd prefer to have that. So now my 4th one, writing the manuscript. This is the good one, how to write the manuscript. Okay. Everything should be original. Whatever words, figures, data, whatever you got. No, nothing wrong with reusing the data, provided you do proper citation. If you find data in some other paper, no problem. Cite that work. Do not claim work of other people as your own. This is not bad, it's unethical. Okay. If I'm writing a paper, I must make contribution. I just can't be copying from you and everyone else and then combine to. No, that's not the. There is something called review paper where you do review of other people's work. There are some papers. I mean, one of my students recently has done a beautiful review paper. Okay, it's 19 pages long, and he has found that what are the work done in that particular area. So he's done quite a bit of work on that and very nicely written. Um, I find this very hard. A paper that I got was with two authors, and then all of a sudden, after the papers were nearly towards the acceptance side, then two more authors were added. So the journal admin team will send me a request saying that, do you accept this type or not? And unless and until it's not properly justified, I will not add those new authors. So be careful. Whomever you want to use as co-authors, you stick by them till the end. Now, there is reason sometimes, uh, the authors were not trying to associate, the author was not ready at that time, the author was not available, whatever the reasons that the co-author was not included in the first submission. You can change it later on, but there must be a valid reason why you want to add new co-authors. Most of the times, on the chief editor's head, it goes that they're just trying to sell the product. This is another thing which is happening. People are selling uh, publication. I have written a paper, and then you want to get into it, right? I tell you, I ask you, I demand some money. This is illegal. So data must be fully and truthfully reported, especially in medicine area and all. You find that manipulation of data could be harmful to life, my friend. Vaccines, etc. So it's very dangerous to manipulate data. If there are errors, there's nothing wrong. Report it. There's no problem. Okay. So there's no problem at all. See that this is the authorship. This is the paper. There are, see that, one, two, three, four, five, six authors are there. The main author is, and the corresponding author is Dunlop, right, from California. So he's the main author, and he's got all these people who are co-authors. And if you look at when I normally look at the affiliation where they come from, unless and until I smell a rat in that affiliation, I know that these are all genuine authors. So who can be an author? Responsibility definitely lies with the first author, that is Dunlop over here. Okay. And he has ownership. He does all the submission. He does all the communication. So all the communication goes to Dunlop. Then abstract. This is an interesting one. Abstract or summary or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I remember when I was in school, we were told that abstract should not be more than one paragraph long. I mean, this is in the olden days, in my high school area. And it must be very focused. It's just like an executive summary, if you can think from that angle. It must be like what is there, what is to be measured, what we learned, things like that. Look at a paper, the total words are about 264 words. That's it. Abstract is one paragraph. That's all that is. It's about a quarter of a page if you look at a two-column page, and it's a quarter page only. So abstract cannot be about 2 pages long. Even in thesis, I find people writing, anyone who writes more than 1.5 page to 2 pages, I tell them cut it down. So be very careful of the abstract. The reason why in the thesis it's longer, because your thesis has about 200 pages, 220 pages. These papers that I'm talking about is between 6 to 9 pages. So In the abstract, you have to tell very clearly. You must be precise. I told you right in the beginning that you must be absolutely clear. What have you done? What are the results that you got, the specific one? What is your contribution? Remember, that's the first question I try to find out. Where are the research gaps and what is the contribution? What are the aims and objectives? Things like that, you know. So you have to give specific details and you have to have a general significance of your work. Then look at this. Then you can have introduction. In the introduction, you can see you've got all these other people's work that you can see. Look at that. Look at that. That is telling you a style of of referencing. Everything that you have got, which is vague or something that is not yours, right? Uh, I can tell you right now, it must have a reference. Don't use motherhood statement, my friend. Don't use motherhood statements. I repeat, don't use motherhood statement. Refer to anything which is not clear. Anything that you are using someone else's work, make reference to that. See that? You cite. You cite the literature or you cite the relevant general literature that has that work in it. Narrow the focus to your topic. Explain why your research is interesting. You don't want to read a boring paper. Make it interesting, my friend. Make it interesting. So state the brief. What have you done, my friends? What have you done? And briefly, I don't want to have a long history of what you have done. Okay. This is your journey that you have taken 2, 3, 4, 5 years to do. I don't want all that thing in there, but briefly tell me, what have you done? I don't have that much time. So I must know briefly, very focused. Like in the last paragraph, my introduction, what samples I collected, what was measured, why, what result did we hope to achieve? Very simple. That's my last paragraph of the introduction. Then the background. And people want to know what previous work has been done. What previous results have you got that you can do your own interpretation? If it's not helping you, or if it's not helping the reader to understand, eliminate it, forget it. Don't worry. Don't use it. What's the big deal? Methods. Where are the samples collected? If you're an engineering student, I mean, you must have done some lab work, some simulation work, whatever. There's nothing wrong with doing simulation work, my dear. But it's always good. I always find that if you have got a hardware simulation, it helps it helps the examiners to see that you have verified your results with some actual concrete hardware laboratory experimentation. But it's not necessary. Someone can be doing purely simulation work and come with extraordinary work. Nowadays, there are so many softwares, okay, uh, that the software can do most of the work. That type of work will not be acceptable. Give the conditions. What type of conditions are there? Okay. Is it analytical or experimental? If you can do both of them together and show the comparison and where the errors are, it's always good. Have you done any error measurements? How significant were the errors? You know, if the errors were about between the experimental results and your results is about 10%, nothing wrong. But if the error is 90%, then there's some issue I have. So look at this. This particular citation has said that they use the techniques which was done in 1976 and 2000 and other work which was done. And they are comparing all that in 2008. and they are finding this work was done, but we have done, which has improvised the method. Results. Initially, you give the results. Okay, we as engineers should provide figures, data in form of tables, data which is in form of graph. So please show the pattern of the work that has done. Show the sample locations. If the errors, discuss it. Label all the axes. Just don't have an x-axis and y-axis on the understanding that people understand. Look at this. I've got this is x-axis and this is y-axis. This is downstream. This is a concentration. Look at, I've got all the units also on that. I also have a small window over here which tells me what the dots are and what the dots are and what these diamond shapes are. And I can show this is the figure. And you can do the discussion based on this figure. So there you can see that you can explain your results that you've got. You refer to the information in the background section that you've already done. You discuss any alternative interpretation. You actually discuss the limits of your interpretation. You discuss additional work that would support or refute your interpretation. You discuss the relevance of the previous research. Can you see? This is part of the conclusion that I have. So I can explain the broader significance. I can review the main contributions. You can offer more speculative interpretations, but do it cautiously and point to the direction. Always have, when you have conclusion, it must tell you that there is a scope for future work. There's no work where there is no scope. Every work must have. You must give alternative, and it's better to do it in dot points and explain what these dot points are, or bullet points, whatever you want to call it. So always have a scope for future work. So acknowledgement. People forget, and many of you might have funding which has come from industry, from the institution. You forget to acknowledge it. Okay, no problem. I have got an ARC grant, Australian Research Council grant. Grant number is ARC 2555. No problem. Just write it down. If you had anyone who has reviewed, okay, mention them. If there's a colleague who has helped, include them in the co-authorship. If you don't want your co-authorship to be very, very long, mention them in encouragement. If they're lab technicians, many lab technicians, especially those of us who have worked in the lab, you get help from the techos. Mention them, thank them. It's acknowledgement. They've gone out of their way to help you. You must acknowledge them in your thesis. Any family or friend. Okay, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I always acknowledge my family because they go through a lot of hardship because of my research. So I must acknowledge them. Okay, I mean, this is type of acknowledgement. Due to shortage of time, I don't want to go through all that. Like this author thanked Stanley Church and Richard Tosdell because they gave constructive reviews. They also thanked research centers where they got the funding from. Thank it. There's nothing wrong with doing acknowledgement. And cite the reference. Please use APA referencing. For engineering, I prefer to use IEEE type. But whatever you do, the references should all be of the same style. You can't have one in American style, the other in English style, the third in APA style, the fourth in IEEE. It is a huge thing. If you have the last name first, continue with it with all the 200 references that you've got. Follow the pattern very clearly. Look at that. The author names are there. This is the year. This is the title. Okay. And this is the name of the journal. And this is the referring to the volume number and page number. So then something which is very interesting, and that is your appendices. You need to have appendices many times. There are a lot of things that you've done in your thesis and other places where you need to have a detailed methodology. You might as well put them in appendices rather than making your main thesis very long. Your data table, sometimes you have repeated the experiment about 500 times. Show the interesting ones in your main thesis, and the rest 451 in the appendices. Show details of algorithms. Any details, if you don't want to include in the main text, put them in the appendices. Look at the journal guideline, you'll get a good idea of it, and it could be in electronic or printed copies. Again, figures and tables. For God's sake, do not copy directly from the website, because when it comes in your thesis or in the paper, you can see a blurry image, and the examiner or the reviewers or those who are reading the publication knows that this is a cut and paste job. This is the worst thing you can do. Okay, so draw it yourself. Explain the figure content. Reduce it in size when printed, because you can't have the whole A4 page on one figure. Make sure that you reduce it, but must be readable. And normally use gray tone. Try to avoid color thing, because in any case, when it's printed, it will become black and white. Now you submit the manuscript. And this is the interesting part. And say this journal itself, very carefully, they have written certain things. You should read what is there. This journal talks about the scope and overview, talks about how you can do the submission. It talks about how the evaluation is done. It talks about what sort of reprints are there. It talks about production. There's a whole gamut of things which is there. There are about 9 things that it goes. Read that guideline completely. Okay? What type of format, these manuscript formats are there. It tells you exactly the formatting, how it is to be done. You have to follow that rules. Okay, look at that. That is the standard. So these are the standard ways of how it is done. See, the size of the figure has reduced, and see how it is the 2 columns. And in many of the journals, you will also find numbers adjacent to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, up to whatever numbers it is there. Then you write a letter to the editor. Be a polite letter. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with writing a good letter. Also, you can say that, look, this is a letter. Make sure you be very polite with it. Try and address that chief editor in proper fashion. Professor Pollard, doctor something. Be formal, my friend. He's not your friend. And look at that. Use your letterhead if possible, if you've got it. Then see how I've written. That's the first paragraph. I'm saying that please consider my article that I have written for your journal, which is GCA. Okay. And tell them this is original work that I have done. Okay. And I've got the support from whatever it is. Then what happened? The second paragraph tells you more detail of what the manuscript is, and also tell them where you want the correspondence to go ahead, right? And make sure that they have an address that they can go to and how they can be contacted. So also, if there is citations, okay, you give them how the citations would be done. So you're helping the editor by doing all these things. See, this particular person also suggested reviews. There's nothing wrong. Not that they will take the reviews as it is, but if they can't find reviews, they might use your reviews. There's nothing wrong with telling them these are the suggested reviews. My next one is how to respond. Questions have come, right? First of all, make it easy for the editor to understand what you've done. Don't make it so complicated, my friends. Okay. Make it easy for the editor to understand what you've done. Agree on revisions. Is there some problem they have? Agree, I'll do it. Respond to line each referee's comment. Don't start swearing at them. If you write a short cover letter, I always write, I mean, I know the reviewer, I'm very angry with the reviewer, but when I write, I say, I really liked your comment. Thank you very much. It was very good. You really pointed out a very important, yes, this is the answer to that. Be very polite. Okay? There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. If you don't think that that's right, because reviewers are not God omnipotent, right? You might have more knowledge than that reviewer because you actually done the work. You might disagree and tell them why you disagree. Don't get tangled up. Don't get tangled up. Don't become personal, my friend. Stick to the core purpose of the article. My God, always be calm and professional. Observe the 24-hour rule. That means respond as soon as you get it. Okay? It might not go your way, right? So if it doesn't go your way, there's an appeal process. Okay, there's nothing wrong with going for appeal if you think that you're right and the editor or the reviewers have goofed up. Appeal, but it depends. Uh, what actually works? If you've got new data, okay, if you've got some factual errors that you found, you've got evidence. These research all evidence-based, Marcel. Okay, appeal to the editor, and the editor can overrun what the reviewers have done. So they can repeal the decision and go in your favor. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Okay. What doesn't work when you say the referees are unfair? And then you tell to the editor, in your journal in 2021, there was one article which was worse than mine, and you published it. Why can't you not publish it? You can't say things like that. Make a request, appeal. Okay? Don't do personal attack. And don't do guessing, because most of the time you will not know who the referee is, who the reviewers are. You know who the editor is, but you do not know who the reviewer. So don't try and start guessing and start swearing at the reviewers. Doesn't work when you do cosmetic changes. Then do not put statements about the author's reputation. I am the topmost scientist in the world. I'm the 2% scientist in the world. All that thing doesn't work. Do not give any celebrity endorsement. What makes an excellent output? Originality, significance, and rigor. That's all. It doesn't make anything, If it's original, you will get it. If it's significant, you will get it published if there's rigor in your work. Okay. So express the following. What's the broader research questions? What time have you done, right? Focus one message only. What's the state of the art? What is so special about you? Why should anyone care? Someone has to read it, my friend. If I can't get an audience, why should I have a publication or any other caveats or limitations? It must also have inspire confidence. I must be confident, although I told you right in the beginning, be very clear, concise. And it must be well written. If it is in English language journal, please use proper English. For God's sake, these days, you do not make typographical and spelling errors. Don't do that. There are enough softwares available where you can check all that. Then an excellent paper should be focused. It must be original. It must have a style. It must have a rigor. There must be a reach. There must be visible. There must be substance, and there must be contribution. Can you see there are 8, 9 items in there, which makes an excellent paper. Okay? Have a good story. Think about your audience. Who is going to read that? Is it going to be mechanical engineers? Then think about a story which will appeal mechanical engineers. Find the right tools and the right hook. Clarify. Lucidity of thoughts are very important. Inspire confidence. Go for straightforward, straight synthesis, and do something that people can cite your work. Not easy, and you can get advice from others too. So sometimes some of the journals, my journal does not do that. I don't have that much time, but many good journals also have pre-submission inquiries. You can ask them. Some of the journals nowadays, I find that they do preprints too. If the editor is happy with it, they will do preprint before the review is done, and the review will keep on going ahead. At least you've got uh, um, a one step ahead of everyone, and people know that you're working in this area. Share it. I mean, I've got one paper now on hydrogen, which is being um, which has been in a preprint stage. We put it about 2 weeks back, 3 weeks back. It's a very good idea. So remember, engage yourself with editors, be a constructive referee, find out and influence what they think. Don't miss the opportunity. This is a free help you're getting, my friends. Don't miss that. Make yourself visible. Improve your website. Have an ORCID account. Have professional networking. Engage with funders, contributors, publishers, peers, and have self-promotion. So some of the responses I've given, I'm going out of time, but I've given that to you, that these are the type of responses that you can go ahead with. Okay, but any comment that has come, respond to each comment and tell them how good that comment is. Be very respectful. Respond fully to the comment that has come, any comment, negative or positive. Tell them, oh, thank you very much. That was very thoughtful of you. That is very nice. Explain in detail how you can respond to those. Now I come to the publication stage. First of all, how many reprints you're going to have. Communicate clearly with your co-authors. Obtain and distribute PDF copies to the co-authors. Quickly respond to any last-minute request by editor. I told you 24 hours rule. Avoid common errors, and this is the best part of the presentation today. You must read the guidelines. The journal must be suitable to the research that you're doing. You're talking about apples and you have sent it to a journal which is dealing with animals. That's not good enough. Have a good communication with the co-authors. Keep the paper origin organized. Okay. Be sure you know the existing research and cite it correctly. So once you've done that, how do I write the manuscript? And normally, I mean, I always talked about this, normally you have about 6, 7 chapters, you have a title, you've got an abstract, you've got an introduction, you've got methods, you've got results, you've got discussions, you've got acknowledgement, you've got references, you can have appendices after that, all that stuff. But how, when you write it, how do you, and I find this very interesting. I first know my title very well, because right from the beginning of my research, I know exactly what I'm going to work on. Then what I do, I go to the method because I've tried the methods. Because I know that I've done it myself, my friends. Then I know the results also. So the method must correlate to the results. So what I've got as a method, my results must be tallying with that. And then I go to discussions. Can you see how I gobbled it all up? I didn't start with the way it was actually there. I've mixed it all up. And after the discussion, then I write my introduction. And look at that. Introduction must be a reflection in the discussion. That is where the conclusion must have a first section of the conclusion must be the how my research is comparing with the chapter in introduction, what I intended to do and what I have done. And then I have got my second section would be the scope for future work. Where are all the work going? It should be sizable work. I mean, I find many theses which I correct, it's only one page, the conclusion. I don't like that at all. I penalize that student because of that. And then you talk about abstract. Can you see my gobble up thing? And naturally, everything has got a reference, and don't forget the acknowledgement. So although it started in a different manner, my chapter was my I discussed with my supervisor, my manager, whatever it is, how I'm going to write, what I'm going to write. But when I did the writing, I changed it completely. And you find, in summary, I want to end now. In summary, I want to tell you, have a worthy research question. Always do that. Okay, group of questions or questions. Remember the goals. Okay, and have the procedure before or after the manuscript submission. Be a critique. You are the best critique of any published articles. Do not swear at those articles. Just critique and scientifically critique. Use that manuscript for developing and learning resources, and then also become a referee at some time. So my final thought is as follows. Okay, be patient, my friend. God is with those who have patience. The best writing comes from rewriting. I told you right in the beginning. Publish excellent research, then put it where people will see it. A good journal. I tell you, go for Q1 journal. The best journals are what is called Q1 journal. They have a very good impact factor. And naturally, the APC or the article processing charges are also pretty high. But if you've got a good journal, there's also for those countries which are coming from the developing countries, they might have a substantial discount. Or if your supervisor is editor of that journal or has linked with that journal, you might find discount. And the best is if they are part of the consortium of that journal or group of journals which has membership, and your library will be able to tell it. Have a strategy, and you won't be uh, you won't be surprised. So, in conclusion, what I want to tell you, I've given you all the strategies that you can think of. Engage, 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 whether it's colleagues or peers. Okay. There is an opportunity for asking questions and discussions. I'll be more than happy to discuss that. Shipishu, with that, I've completed my presentation.
Thank you so much, Professor Kalam. It was a pleasure. I'm just going to take control of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have any questions, this would be a good time for you to note them down in either the chat box or the Q&A function, and I will have the professor answer them if they are relating to today's presentation. If you have any EIT related questions, please be sure to mention this as well so that I am able to answer the questions you might have. Now, whilst we are waiting for questions, I'd just like to go through some slides with you. So these are our upcoming Doctor of Engineering programs that will be running this year. We have an intake starting on the 28th of July 2025, and that is for the online program. As you all know, you are able to study from anywhere around the world. The program, all you would need to do is submit an application. However, because the application for the Doctor of Engineering program is in depth, we would encourage you to apply well in advance so that the academic committee can go through your application and provide you with a response within a good time so that you guys are able to start your programs without any issues. Now, the online program starts on the 4th of August 2025. And the applications are also open. Same procedure applies for the application. However, because you will be applying for the on-campus program, you will need to make use of educational agents and such, and that is a long process. I would encourage you to apply on time. If you'd like to speak to a course advisor, I will also provide you with the details in the chat box as well as the Q&A function so that you are able to speak to a course advisor relating your study needs and where you would like to start the program or study it rather. So for the Doctor of Engineering program, this happens every Thursday. Every first Thursday of the month. We've already gone through about 2 topics already, and the next one will be on the 1st of May, and it will be research design and methodology. So that program will run both the recordings as well as your video will be sent to you, as well as the PDF, I mean to say. But first Thursday of every month is the DEng program, and it is still hosted by Professor Kalam. Now, there is a link up on your screen. This is for a survey. If you have any questions for us or any suggestions as to what you would like to see on the next DEng program or the next DEng webinar, rather, you can send us your recommendations on the survey. We would love to hear from you guys, and we will take them into consideration going forward. And then our contact us page, you can reach out to any of the emails as well as phone numbers up on your screen if you have any questions. But I will also be sure to link them once the presentation is over. I'm just waiting to see if we have any questions. And if we do not, I will close the presentation. But before closing, I will provide you with all relevant links that you might need in order to reach out or contact us regarding today's program or any other courses that you guys might be interested in. Just a last note, we will be hosting a virtual open week next week. This is where we'll be showcasing all the courses and programs that we have at EIT. I will be sure to include the links as well. You guys can register for those sessions. Professor Kalam will also be presenting next week, as well as a few of his colleagues, and you guys can join us for virtual open weeks. If you have any interest, please make sure to utilize the links that I will provide right now. I'm just going to wait for Azul to finish. Okay, there's a couple of people who are sending us messages, and then I will see if there are any questions for you, Professor Kalam, so that we may conclude with today's presentation. We went a little bit over, however, I do hope that we do not take any much more of your time.
There's a question from Izul in Perth.
I see that.
And I just wanted to read that question, comment, sorry. This person is sending an application for an on-campus Doctor of Engineering Melbourne campus program. And Assalamu alaikum, Izul, and welcome. And we want to see you in Melbourne. Believe me, Melbourne is the most livable city in the world. So your choice of campus is fantastic. And I live in Melbourne too. Someone has said that that he was my former student in power engineering and MEng in industrial automation. Great to know you, whoever you are. I have produced 9,000 engineers, and I'm becoming very old. You might have seen me when I was young. I'm no longer young as I was. And but that's about the two things that I thought I better mention them. Because I was teaching in the industrial automation, I think 7, 8 years back. I don't know when this person was there, but last I taught was about 7 years back. So good to see a very senior engineer sitting over there.
That was some lovely feedback, Professor. There will be a lot more coming out as engineers under your great supervision. However, I don't think we have any more questions. But as I've mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave all relevant links in the chat box. Professor, I'm going to see you again when we hold this DEng webinar once more, and next week as well. Most importantly, thank you so much for everyone who has joined the session today. We really do appreciate any feedback as well as your attendance for today. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely rest of your day.
And bye-bye, and thank you very much, and thanks for coming to this session. As Sipusha mentioned, every first Thursday of the month, I always give one seminar, and you're always welcome. Please register for the seminar. It gives a credibility to the program, and it keeps a record in our system. Someone is typing something. I just want to wait to see what was typing. I don't want to miss that person.
That's God.
He's gone. That's all right.
Thank you so much, everyone, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye. Again, he's typing. Shipusho. No, bye-bye. He's written bye-bye. Bye, everyone, and take care and all the best. Have a great weekend. Bye.